sitting in a room at Southern Oregon University. It's a Monday, the summer of 2019. I've come for a talk on Israel and Ilhan Omar, which turns out to be more of a small discussion circle. People are airing their grievances. The general sentiment of the room seems to be anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, and then it turns anti-Jewish so quickly that my brain is trying to catch up to my ears as I'm sitting across from a man who says the word Holocaust in air quotes. The room goes boom, 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 boom. And I'm wondering what reality I am in. Like my world has just suffered a rupture and I'm not sure it will go back to the way that it was. Viga la fire. He's flipping through his papers in a book he's brought, saying what he gets from reading Mein Kampf and the benefit of homogeneous societies. Der Wind spielt auf der Lyre. The fear and the panic is rising. Dear God, what do I do? Flashback, 19 years earlier. I'm sitting in a classroom at Sha'arayam, the Santa Monica Synagogue. I'm 13 years old and I'm preparing for my bat mitzvah. I tell my Hebrew school teachers and Rabbi Marks, I don't want to just sing Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. I want to sing Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. The general response seems to be, no, you can't do that. We've been singing these prayers this way for thousands of years. Every note, every module has meaning. Okay, my 13-year-old self says. I get it. And I do. It's tradition. And for people who have sacrificed so much, even as a teenager, I understand how important tradition is. But in my head, I am thinking of Whitney Houston, my all-time absolute favorite singer in the world. I'm in awe of how her voice makes all those riffs, which at the time I call curly cues. And everybody knows that Whitney Houston and all the Black singers got their start singing in church. And I'm wondering, how am I going to get my start? In synagogue. Especially if we don't add more of those soulful curly cues. But we do the bat mitzvah, we do the party, and everybody keeps saying, oh, now you're a woman. I wake up the next morning to the smell of bacon. That's unusual because my mom and I only eat kosher meat. I walk into the dining room to see my mother bent over a plate of crispy treif. In my imagination, she's smoking a cigarette and she sounds like she's just made her way through a meat grinder. She says, I done all I could do, kid. It's up to you from now on. She means I don't have to go to Hebrew school anymore. I don't have to go to shul anymore if I don't want to. I mean, I know I'm Jewish, but I'm tired of proving it. I'm the only Black kid in my shul. I'm the only Black kid in Hebrew school. I'm one of the only Black Jews that I know. And for the next almost 20 years, I never stepped foot in that shul or any other. I become an artist. I get my start singing jazz in a vocal improv ensemble in Oakland, and I wind up in a play. And by the year 2019, I am a working professional actress. I hardly ever think about the fact that I'm no longer a practicing Jew. Until one day, an audition comes in, unlike any other audition before. Viga la la fire. It's for a Jewish play and a Jewish role. And that's never happened before because though I am Jewish, you don't look Jewish, which means I'm not white. It's Paula Vogel's Indecent, and it's a love letter to the theater. It's a true story of Yiddish theater, and it's a play within a play about two young girls, Rivkala and Manka, who fall deeply in love. I'm auditioning for Manka, and I book it. I'm off to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Cue lights. We're backstage making sure that our fake payas are attached to our Hasidic hats. And then we're on stage singing, what can you mach? This is America. It's America, so what can you mach? I look over to my almost entirely Jewish cast and see my friend Bill, another Black Jewish actor. And I am not the only one. One night after the show, a young brown teenager comes up to me, his face beaming, his big moon face glowing. He says, I'm a brown Jew too, and I'm queer. We hug. I feel that his excitement is the excitement of recognition, of being seen. And every night, Shayna, my castmate, and I perform the rain scene. It's a scene that's repeated many times in the play, where Rivkala and Manka escape the oppression of Rivkala's father and run and dance freely in the rain. Shayna and I are huddled in the wings together, undressing quietly and putting back on our nightgowns. We're taking off our microphone packs and taking makeup remover to remove all the makeup from our face. We're waiting to hear our love refrain, our cue. Shayna stands on her tiptoes, playing with her curly hair. I crouch down into a low squat, the soles of my feet and the palms of my hand feeling the cold wood planks. And then we hear that bit of violin and we run out giggling into the rain. Actual water coming down from the ceiling, drenching our hair and our nightgowns, making our skin slippery as we slide off of each other. We stop in front of each other, a little breathless. I hold my hand out to catch more rain, staring up, and I feel Shayna's wet hand run up my arm and meet my hand. As they intermingle with each other, the lights slowly fading to black. It is theater magic. We are in the temple of art. And every night we sing in Yiddish, in English, in German, beautiful songs, funny songs. And the last song we sing is a duet between Shayna and I. It's a soft, gentle lullaby written by a woman named Ilsa Weber. She and her son and her husband were taken to a concentration camp, and she wrote songs and poems and stories for children. That when the children lined up for the gas chamber, Ilsa Weber sang this song before she voluntarily joined them. It's about the wind playing freely through the grass. It notices a nightingale up in a tree and the moon as a lantern. The whole cast lines up on stage in profile. The screen above us reads, "They smell the ash." And Shayna and I sing, "Viva la fire." Boom, 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 boom. Der Wind spielt auf der Lyre. the rustling of papers. Die Nachtigall, die singt ihr Lied. He's pointing at his book. Figala, figala, vaia. Der Mond ist die Laterne. And I'm back in the classroom. The man has just said the Holocaust. He's saying what he gets from Mein Kampf and the benefit of homogenous societies. The fear and the panic is rising. Dear God, what do I do? I hadn't realized it was a prayer because God answered. And she was Maya Angelou. She descended into me, this essence, this wisdom, this grace. And she said, you don't have to go anywhere. She rooted my feet deep into the ground, and I relaxed. A slight wise smile dawned my face. She said, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to defend. And so I listened, and I heard what the illness of white supremacy sounds like. It sounds like the fear of not existing. Meanwhile, I was no longer afraid. I felt held. I felt necessary. And I was so proud of the work we were doing every night on stage that now was exactly the time it was needed. And since then, my art has been infused more and more with spirituality. And my spirituality has been infused more and more with creativity as I create artistic, spiritual rituals, experiences that bridge the gap between art and action. Like a piece that I wrote in 2020 about my father, Dr. George Soze Vilakati, who died a little before I turned 13, that bat mitzvah year. And when he passed away, when I was invited to say Kaddish for him, how I couldn't, because I thought that our Jewish prayer for mourning somehow didn't apply to him, that my concept of God was not big enough to include my own father. Or like also in 2020, when Hillel invited me to write a psalm for racial justice, an update traditional Psalm 27 said during Elul at the time of the Jewish New Year, which called out white supremacy within the Jewish community and asked us to atone, amend, and befriend. And in the summer of 2020, a little after George Floyd was murdered, when I wrote a piece that played with the idea of a preventative Kaddish, something that we could ask for help for to protect and defend Black lives now instead of have compassion for them when it's too late. This piece is growing as the community is growing around me. It's a living document. I want all Jews of color to be so steeped in community that they are never the only one. I want all Jews to feel like they have a place in the community. And I want to create new traditions that can actually address racism, sexism, and all the self-centered delusions of white supremacy. So, the next time you are in fear, sitting across from whatever that trigger is for you, I invite you to share in this wisdom from God, otherwise known as the essence of Maya Angelou, as interpreted through me, Rebecca Simonga Frank, to ground your feet deep into the earth, to relax. And you can repeat after me if you like and say, I am held. I am necessary. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Amen.